It's Lil Baby.
This delay be fucking with me.
Am I looking into any specific camera? Or
So
just...
if anything like you want to say specifically, this is the ISO for yours.
Cool.
But that's about it.
And then wide is in the center.
Yeah.
Cool. Silence my phone.
Rolling.
Good.
You're good to go.
Let's do it.
Putting it on you now. All right.
Cool. Welcome to episode 33 of Conversations with Chai. I am your host, Ihram Chowdhury, aka Lil Baby Ram Ram. And my next guest, I can't even list all of the affiliations, but heavy hitters, Hot 97. I have with me the OG and the legend, DJ Sharad.
Yes, sir. Wow. Thank you, man.
Yo, appreciate you doing this. Yo, thank you.
Well done.
I usually don't get nervous on intros, but come on, professional like you, I was like, yo, I gotta hit this.
You're the professional, man.
I gotta
You're
hit this.
Once you pass 30 episodes, you're OG at that point.
I gotta see,
Yo,
like,
listen, bro.
how can you say that when I'm sitting there here talking to somebody like you who's just like 20 plus years in the game? Like, I can't be a professional.
Because I think it's the mind state. Like, I think it's like professionalism doesn't necessarily mean how much time you've put into a particular piece of your work. It's acting professional and being in an environment that speaks professionalism. So if we're in a studio right now with 10 cameras pointed at us, there's an engineer here. Look at the environment. So you're already a step ahead. So we're already in the professional state. Now, what are we doing after that? Just having a conversation.
What are we doing after that?
It's too easy.
What are we doing after that? Because we talked off mic a little bit, right? And we're talking about like, yo, like what it happens when we start to build like something like this. What you're talking about is infrastructure, right? And we're
Big
talking
time.
about, and when you came up, right? Because like just to go through like your history, right? DJ USA, Hot 97, heavy hitters, right? Like, and you being somebody from South Asian descent, like you didn't really have infrastructure for somebody that looks like you to do what you're doing, right? You kind of had to build it as you went, right? You had to build out your career. You had to build out the steps that it took for you to even get here, right?
Absolutely.
But now that we're here, what is next in your eyes? Because somebody who's seen the game for such like a long time.
So I'll backtrack for a second. You said we're in episode 33, right?
Yeah.
That's the Patrick Ewing episode, number 33. This is a time where I say that because I'm glad to be episode 33, because that number is like a certified G number. And your question is where do we go next, or where are we going? I think it's important to understand your history. I think it's important to understand the history of our culture and our people, one from back home, but very importantly from over here and what we've done here and the groundwork that's been laid here. For me personally, what's next is continuing on the path. It's all about two key things that I instill in my team and my people, and that's just commitment and consistency. Consistency is waking up and doing it over and over again, regardless of if things are successful or not, or things you throw at the wall might stick, some things might not. But it's the consistency that really, really matters. Commitment is being committed to whatever that is you're trying to do. So if you're in podcasting and you're a presenter and you want to take this shit to the next level, you have to be committed. You have to put the dirty work in. You have to be here before everybody else. You're the last one to leave. You're having difficult conversations. You're giving up things that maybe people in your circle or in your age group get to do to work on something that you believe is bigger. You're committed to it. You could see what it is 5, 6, 7, 10 years down the line. While some people in your class might be like, I'm gonna just try it out. But there's no commitment. There might not be consistency. It's not gonna work. I think commitment and consistency in anything you do is what leads us into the future and into the next level.
So as you're kind of going through, right? Like as you're building out your career, right? At my age, that when you were my age.
How old are you?
27.
God bless you, man. It's amazing. What a great time.
When you were my age, right?
What a time.
How are
bro.
you looking at like you building? Because obviously like it's coming with that grind. It's coming in with that dirty work, right? It's coming in and doing shows. Like we were talking outside about other DJs, right? And the work that they had to put in before they could sell out these major stages and they could go on tours, right? Nobody like likes to see that because nobody actually sees that, right? Because the audience when that's happening is far smaller than the audience when you finally get on that big stage. But that big stage doesn't even come until you do that 50-person room, that 10-person room, that radio show that nobody listens to, right? So
Absolutely.
when you're looking at it from there, do you see what it could be? Because nobody really ahead of you has done what you've really done at that space.
The crazy part is I've done so much, and I continue to do so much daily, that it goes back to just waking up and going to work. Like, this is work. Like, my daughter asked me, "What are you doing right now, Dad?" I have a work thing, Naya. Work thing? What is it? I have to be on a podcast. It's for work. Can I see it on YouTube? Yes, you can. You're going to see it on YouTube. We have to consistently put in that work. For me, my story is different because I came from a place of desperation when I had to start. When I started I was been DJing since I was 13 years old. I tried playing sports. My dad said Indians shouldn't play sports. Pulled me out of it. I loved music. He bought me turntables. He bought me my first set of turntables. I don't think he knew that I would turn it into a business as quickly as I did. He bought me the turntables, I think, to keep me indoors and to keep a watch on me, to make sure I wasn't going outside. And I started making money really quickly DJing. When I started DJing, there wasn't a lot of, the way there's a DJ on every corner now, it wasn't like that when I started. It was harder to get in the game because the investment was a lot higher back then. You had to buy records to DJ. Mm-hmm. So when I started my company, 10 years after I started DJing, I did it because I didn't have a job. This was always my job. This was always what I did. So in order to advance to the next level, like, it couldn't just be me. I needed to build a company and I needed to build infrastructure. The way I did it was I partnered with someone who was already in the business. And that helped me tremendously because that gave me my stepping stone to go on and start similar businesses. And in the course of my career, I've started 16 businesses, or I've been involved in 16 different businesses, but the DJ has always been like at the forefront of it. The DJing is what got me to be able to be involved in everything else that I've done.
I think that's like something that like our generation kind of like skips over, right? Like, we all want to do everything, right? Like, we want to have merch, right?
Amazing.
Like, we want to do all of that. Amazing, but you have to build the thing out completely and wholly before you can start like spreading, right? Or build those things with just as much professionalism. Some of us could do it. Some of us could build like 8 different businesses at the same time and give them all 100% of our efficacy, right? But for a lot of us, it's like, 5% here, 5% here. We don't really give it the time to mature into something real, to mature into something substantial, right? Like, you're able to do these things. You're able to navigate these rooms and navigate these storied places because you've perfected, A, you perfected your craft, and then B, you built a true business around that craft. You built true infrastructure around that craft.
It's daily motion. We make mistakes. Entrepreneurs I make mistakes daily. The best thing that I ever did was put people around me. Like, I have an army of people around me. I have a payroll every single week of people to do stuff that I can't do, or things. There's people around me that can do things better than me. And from early on, I always realized, like, I'm the DJ. I'm going to book the gig. The money's going to come in because I will go get the money at the gig. But everything that happens from this gig to the next gig has to be treated with utmost urgency and utmost care. So as I built my business of DJing and DJ Sharad, first and foremost, there was always people around me that were better at things that I couldn't necessarily do or were willing to learn, and I could teach them and pass on a particular task. Like, to this day, I have $100,000 monthly payroll. Everyone around me gets paid. Mm-hmm. Nobody works for free. And that has been it's not even a secret, it's like a standard in entrepreneurship.
I think that it's a standard that a lot of us don't really understand, right? The fact that because everybody is so concerned with being like the star, right? Everybody thinks that they can just make a bunch of TikToks or make a bunch of like podcasts, right? And not have an army to do this, right? Because they're like, oh, I could take whatever amount of money it is, right? You could say, hey, I could take 100,000, right, and just pocket it. But you couldn't actually make that 100,000 unless you had the team to facilitate making that 100,000 a month or 500,000 a month, whatever it is, right? People aren't willing to do that early on. They're looking at it as like, oh, I made $2,000 from this. Oh, that's $2,000 that I could go buy whatever or go out to whatever, right? And then those end up being the people, I'm sure you've seen it, that don't really last.
Commitment and consistency, my brother. Commitment and consistency. Like, if you know this is what you have, then you have to protect it at all costs. For me, I own a piece of a parking lot. I own multiple restaurants. I'm invested in multiple restaurants, not even in New York. I have real estate in other states. I own a marketing agency, which we didn't even talk about. I do more marketing work than I do DJ work. I have DJs go out and do events every single weekend through my DJ agency. All of that comes with commitment and consistency and the willingness to invest in people and the willingness to invest into people that will do a great job and bring home everything that you need them to.
You've done this for a long time now. When you're talking about like the people, right? Like what do you now? I'm sure you have like a fine eye for that, right? When you're looking at somebody being like, hey,
we hire some randos that don't work out.
No, but like even
absolutely,
even like because you were, I would say like you hit me early, right?
Absolutely.
And I was like, oh, like that's crazy. Like this is like DJ Sharad on Hot 97 on Shade, right? Like why is he hitting me? And I took that like I always say like I don't count numbers here. Like I really don't give a fuck, right? Mm-hmm. I care about who's actually listening. So it meant a lot that you hit me, right?
You know what? Like, you know why I hit you?
Why?
Because I love this culture. I'm in this culture, and if the elder statesmen or the elder people in this scene don't look backwards and be like, yo, who's the 20-year-old kids doing it now? Who's like the teenagers doing it now? Who's the young dogs that are out there that are putting in that work? We need to be in tune with that, right? Like, it's the elder haters that keep the door closed. But it's the guys with the opportunities and who are sitting in all these corporate meetings that be like me, I'm in corporate meetings all day, every day. Like I'm in some strategy meeting or I'm consulting a brand and I'm talking to them about what's happening in the street and what's happening in the culture and what's happening here and what's happening there. I'm not outside like that, but a bunch of young people I know are. So I'm getting the information from you guys. You guys are creating the new culture. Like your generation is creating what my kids will be listening to. So we have to be tapped in. Like I hit you. I never hit you to be on the podcast.
No.
I don't do that.
No, never.
I hit you to say you're doing great work.
And you hit me early.
Check the DM.
You hit me early.
Right? Yo, social media, as weird and crazy of a place as it is, I've understood that it's a great place if you use it wisely. So like, I'm looking on social media and I'm seeing what's going on and I'm tapping in with everything that I believe is being done with intent, is being done purposefully, and is being done with high level of commitment to the culture. That's why I hit you.
No, and I truly appreciate that because I was like, yo, like DJ Sharad could have hit me and been like, and you know, people have, right? You could have hit me and been like, yo, I want to be on the pod. And it would have immediately happened, right? But I was like, damn, he just like hit me to like no other reason, just to show the love. And like that early on, because now it's like, you know, some things are bubbling, I'm getting DMs and people are supporting, right?
Good.
I was like, early on, somebody like that, somebody like Ani, somebody like Kahani hitting me and be like, yo, like you doing like necessary work. And I remember you hit me and said that. You
Did
said,
I say that? Okay.
You said the documentation of the culture
So important.
is so important.
I almost feel like you'll go back because you've not heard what I did, but I almost go, if you go back to listen to what I did with my podcast, I literally could say that you've picked up exactly where I left off. And there's like a little gap of some years, but storytelling is such where you could always go backwards and figure out, you know, where the pieces got to fit in. But I literally left off in, it's produced similarly and it's a lot of similar discussions. It's culture first.
And I think that when you say that and when you talk about like being an elder statesman and looking back, that's what we're really talking about, right? Like you and how many years you've put in have brought the baton to a certain level. You've brought it into certain rooms, right? But me and you both know that there's some other rooms that we still haven't touched as a culture.
Facts.
Right? There's still some rooms that we haven't touched as a culture. And even if we have to a degree, there's one of us, there's a DJ Sharad in those rooms advocating for us. But how do we get like 4 of us there? How do we get 5 of us there? How do we get 4 of us? How do we get one of us to a room higher than that?
One seat. It's one seat at the table at a time. And eventually you start taking up more seats. We did it. We're doing it. The culture's doing it now. It's such a beautiful thing. Because you're in your 20s. I'm a little bit older. A lot older than you, right? When we were coming up, there was no one. So you stated that I don't know if it was right now or if it was when we were outside, but we talked about blueprint, and there was no blueprint. We didn't have a blueprint in one of my businesses. My first business was my DJ agency, which is DJ USA. At one point, DJ USA was the largest DJ agency of the South Asian demo in the entire country.
Bro, y'all were insane. J. Dobby doing the nuts.
No, it was Marco doing the nuts.
Marco doing the nuts, right?
Jay was on radio. He was the first South Asian DJ in New York on radio. At that time, it was 92.3. Yes, right? But we were the largest, not just terms in who was on our roster at the time, who was hot, because, people have periods of when they're hot and when they're not. But largest in the sense of volume, in the sense of metrics, in the sense of being out, in the sense of the number of people we were catering to on a weekly or daily basis. So when we have the largest DJ agency at the time, the busiest DJ agency, there was nothing before us that existed at that level. There was other companies and whatever, but it wasn't treated agency-like. So we had to set the blueprint up. We set the blueprint up for ourselves. By nature, it opened up the floodgate for, I would say at this point, there's probably 200 companies in the States that do what we do at this point, right? There's 200 other DJ agencies that cater to the South Asian demographic. In New York and New Jersey alone, it's like 100.
But that's huge though, right? Because they saw that you were able to do it and you were able to get some money out of it.
Absolutely. And I don't need to take credit for it.
Nah.
But if you go back to the history of it and really timeline, and my shit is documented. We were documenting pre-Instagram.
Listen,
you could look at when the website was registered.
Listen, you don't gotta tell me.
Right?
I grew up in Jersey. Everybody around me is a DJ. I had heard DJ USA before when I was like 15, 16.
My point, right? Like, so we set up the blueprint for ourselves. Luckily, the blueprint worked to a good degree, so other people that were DJing at the time could be like, oh, those guys are doing that over there. Let's do some research. Let's figure it out. And now there's an entire infrastructure built around the South Asian DJ space. And it's only getting bigger. There's only more money coming into the space. And it's easier for like a kid now to tell his parents, like, I want, or a girl to tell her parents, like, I want to DJ when I grow up and make a career out of it. It's easy. My kids told me that. My daughter's told me that many times. I want to be a musician. Cool. Go for it. Daddy knows people at record labels. Daddy knows people at radio. Mm-hmm. I already had those meetings. It's going to be a lot easier as long as you have the talent to back it up.
But when we were coming up,
there was nobody.
There's nobody, right? Like
zero.
My dad didn't have somebody he could hit and be like, yo, my son want to do a podcast. Go do it, right?
Correct.
Like go figure it out.
Correct. So from a person in my position in the seat that I sit in, it is mandatory. It's my duty at this point to be like, all right, who's doing what? I need to keep connected to that. If I'm going to stay in music and entertainment is going to be my primary source to drive me into all these other spaces, then I'd be a fool to not look back and be like, who's doing what? Who's hot doing? Who's doing the best music? Who's the best young DJs? Who's doing the best art? Right? Who's the best producer? Who's doing the best podcast? It's all together. We all know each other. All creatives stick together, and we come up together. I have to say this because it's really important. If you look at hip hop culture and black people in this country, they actually opened up the door for us to do a lot of what we were doing. Because by the time my parents got here, segregation was over. We could already go to school. We could already ride on the front of the bus. They didn't have that. Hip hop was already existing when my parents came into this country. So I was born when hip hop as a culture and as art form was building. All the stuff we do in the Indian community, if you look back, you look at the beats, look at the mashups, look at everything that artists like Diljit are doing, Prabh is doing, even in India, Divine is doing. You look at every single artist that has music out, PDNY, whoever. Look at any of them and tell me their style doesn't come from hip hop.
Of course. Of course.
So you
right?
have to give credit where it's due. So I always paid homage to the black community and to hip hop in general and pass that knowledge onto people in your generation, because now your generation's removed from it. Some people don't understand that. We have to continually storytell and let people know, like, yo, we're here because of this. So let's not disrespect it and do it the wrong way. Let's take time to learn and educate ourselves. If you don't know, I'll teach you. I'll teach you, I'll help you. So as an elder statesman, that's like where I'm at now.
No, and like I think in terms of like looking at hip hop, like hip hop kind of gave us the blueprint to do what we're trying to do now, right? Like when hip hop is becoming a thing, like yo, these radio shows, like that was like a long shot for these like big corporations, right? Like having a hip hop show, right?
100%.
Or having a hip hop, like they took their shot at one person on the roster, right? Now every label has a hip hop division, right? They got a hip hop division, they got an R&B division, but at some point it was a risk signing Hove, right? It was a risk signing Nas, right? But because of the work that like Rakim did, right? Because there was like proof already that, hey, this is a viable product, that's when the money came in, right? And even Hove and them, right? Like they built out more. So now every hip hop person that is semi-talented gets a check. Sometimes like, and it's become such like a money play at that level, right? Sometimes it's too much, right? But they showed us the blueprint, right? Like Dame did movies, right?
Absolutely.
Dame did movies, right? Dame made sure that the movies had a bunch of hip hop soundtracks.
100%.
And we, like, that's, I think, the part that gets lost in our community, that it does have to come up together, right? We don't get a South Asian star, right, without the visuals being fire.
100%.
Without there being somebody that they could talk to on the documentation side, right? Without there being DJs to play this at random venues.
My point, right? It all lives together. Like the storytellers, the musicians, the creatives in general, the now PR companies that have been formed off of this, the media companies that have been formed, the DJs who are like the anchors to the entire, the DJs are the anchor to the entire culture, because the DJs are connected to the artist before the people connect to the artist. That's just a fact. Like you want to get to the artist, you're probably going to the DJ or someone around the DJ first. But all of these people now are the circle, and the circle moves together to build up the community and bring it to the mass. So we have to really follow, like look at what hip hop did as a whole, not just from the music, but the entire culture and how they stuck together and how they were able to get in the room, bring other people in the room, and keep pushing their narrative. We're doing that now. We've been doing that for like, since the beginning of when this thing started, but now we finally have a lot of voices. We have media, we have everything moving in the right direction. So the next 5, 10 is going to be really, really critical.
I think it's really critical. And then I get into hip hop laid the blueprint, right? And my part of my conversation started with like my peers is hip hop laid the blueprint, but we can now study some of the mistakes that were made on the business end and hopefully do it better, right? Because we know that this is coming, right? Like me and you were talking outside about what we see coming in the next 5 to 10 years.
It's crazy.
It's going to be crazy. But then it's important that the business now is set up in the right ways. So when that money comes flowing in, we're still the ones calling those shots. We're still the ones getting those checks.
But let me make it clear that it is okay to make mistakes in business.
Of course.
Like every successful person that's done this at whatever time has made mistakes in their career. Shout out to Diddy. sorry you're going through what you're going through. That is a rough
That's
patch.
a crazy mistake.
That's bad. So, but in general, my point, like, did he look what he did in outside of all these allegations? Because I do believe in innocence until proven guilty, but outside of allegations, like, or quote unquote mistakes, like, he did a lot of shit, a lot of positive shit in the community as well. That might all get wiped away or put to the side because the negative might start outweighing the positive, but you can make mistakes and still move on. And I think mistakes really make you stronger. And those L's, like, you know, really can't ever be looked at as losses.
No, but I like the way that, again, my perspective on it is that I want to make sure that the mistakes that we're making are not the same mistakes that were made. Like, I want to make different mistakes, right? Like the mistakes that DJ Sharad had coming up, right? I want to learn from you and be like, yo, you know what? Like, I'm not going to make that mistake, right? Like, save me that time, right? Save me that mistake. So then, you know what? I don't know what I'm going to do now that I didn't make that mistake. I'll probably make a bigger mistake somewhere down the line.
Good. You fix it.
Fix it, right?
Fix it.
But do you have a mistake that eats at you?
I wouldn't say like something that eats at me, because again, you learn from your mistakes and you move on, and like you have to get better every day at whatever you do, right? So whatever it is, your craft or you're working towards, you have to get better. I will, not a mistake, but I would, what I didn't know when I was really young in my 20s that I know now and I've learned over time is to remain humble. Like, being humble and being nice and being respectful cost you zero. Sometimes people might not remember what you did, or like what record you put out, or what party you DJ'd, or where you were at, or who you were with, but they will always remember how you made them feel. And if you make someone feel little, and you belittle people, or you embarrass people, or you're like just not nice, you will remember. If I'm coming here not nice and I'm on my arrogant shit, you're gonna remember that forever. And you'd be like, yo, this guy's successful, but he's a dickhead. Early in my career, I was thinking of that braggadocio, hip-hop style. I'm like, yo, if I'm number one right now, no one's touching me. So it was that when I was young. And I had to reel it in at a certain point and be like, yo, that's not cool.
Teach me the balance of that. Teach me the balance of that.
I'll tell you the story, because I have a phenomenal lesson that I got taught by someone who worked for me for years and broke their back for me. Mm-hmm. And I was really hard on this kid. He was a phenomenal DJ, fantastic DJ. He was an amazing DJ. So good of a DJ that I was like, yo, you need to come and work in my office, and I'll help you build a career. Mm-hmm. You could DJ for the agency, plus I'll give you a job in the office. And he worked for me and he broke his back for me for like 15 years. But I was always rough with him because I never had formal training on how to be a CEO. Mm-hmm. I didn't go to school to be CEO of a multi-million-dollar company. It just happened to land like that, and now I'm sitting here in this position of managing a company, and at that time, multiple companies. So this one kid who would never talk back, super nice, made a lot of mistakes, but was super nice and a great person to have working with my team. Wanted to leave. He wanted to exit the business. Explained to me why he wanted to exit the business. I didn't get it, or I choose not to understand it because I'm going to the contract. Well, we have a contract, so I'm just going to enforce the contract. And after a while, like, contract aside, he bounced. He left. And when he left working with me, an entire piece of the soul of my company also left. Mm-hmm. And it could be felt by my entire company that this one person who, in my mind, well, could be replaced, was not replaceable. And it ate at me for a really long time. And I had to really think about what I just did. Like, someone who broke their back for me for 15 years needed to move on. But I was so focused on the business of it that I couldn't understand this person's personal sentiment and why they needed to move it. It wasn't moving on to be malicious and say, I'm going to go be your competitor or I'm going to go work down the block. It was to move on to leave the business and do something else because that's where that person's mindset was at. I couldn't understand it. So I played hardball. We ended up parting ways. And as time went on, I'm like, damn, I really messed up. That was a bad call. I put business ahead of a personal relationship. A few years later, we run into each other. It's eating at me. He's obviously thought about it too. We're drinking. We talk. And I say sorry because I meant it. Mm-hmm. He's like, yo, you know what? For what it's worth, I'm sorry too for how it went down. Hugged it out. Squashed any misunderstood feelings, and we moved on. But your question was like, what's the mistake you made? It's not being humble to realize that other people are valuable, that people have more value than anything. So the people you keep around you have got to be treated like gold. Like you got to treat people with respect. And as long as you could do that, you could be a great leader and be great in business.
When you say that, like, because we talked about like the hip hop element of like the braggadocious.
I was getting hip hop over that. I was like,
you don't think that some of that, like this is the part that I always balance back with, right? And OG, like I'm asking you, like, how do I balance like that? Like, cause I have to always think, cause that's maybe that's what hip hop taught me, right? That, yo, like I am the one, right? Or I'm the guy, right?
Sure.
I have to like kind of believe that just to like move around and do the things that I want to do.
As
right?
you should.
Where does that line come in? Is it that personal? Hey, like to remember, like, yo, I'm still a part of like nobody's bigger than the program, right? I'm still a part of this program. I might be a player in this program, but I'm still part of the program. Like, absolutely. Like where is that? Because like it would be easy for you to be like, yo, I'm DJ Sharad, right? Like I got Hot 97. Like for you to even come up and do this, right? You could be like, you know what? I'm DJ Sharad. I'm Hot 97. I got a platform, right? I don't need to go.
That's corny, bro. That's corny. Like people who make it with others. Nobody makes it by themselves. Name me one person who is rocking right now who has no team, who doesn't have relation. Tell me one. Tell me an athlete. Tell me one athlete who doesn't have a team. Even solo tennis players have a team. Mm-hmm. Tell me a rapper. Tell me anybody who does not have relationships that are great. Tell me one. You know one? Can't. Yo, teams are everything.
In terms of now, like, so like,
but you do need the lead. You need LeBron.
And I think that's like the balancing act, right? Like finding, yo, I'm LeBron, but then putting in the, hey, like who's my Maverick Carter, right?
Absolutely.
Who's my Rich Paul? Because we only have so much bandwidth as individuals and as leaders.
Oh, you're talking
right?
LeBron, the business. See, I'm talking LeBron, AD, Austin. I'm talking, but same thing.
Same thing.
Look.
Same thing.
So see how we cut that up differently?
Yeah.
You literally talked about his whole business partnership. And my reference was to him on the Lakers. Mm-hmm. It nets out the same way. He's not winning by himself. Nothing's moving without the team.
You need the team.
Absolutely. Build the team. The team is the most critical part of your success outside of your putting in the work yourself. Like you got to put in the work. You got to be in the gym. You got to be grinding. Like you have to do that part. I'm here. So when we get visibility on this and a few new people start engaging with me, now the team gets something out of it too. Now it's like, oh, so-and-so called. Oh, what'd they see? Oh, they see me on that podcast. Oh, that's cool. It's business.
When you say, as you build out team, right? And like even you doing this, right? Mm-hmm. Like how are you identifying that in your team and in the people that you choose to be around, right? Because you don't have to put anybody around you. You don't have to. You don't have to.
I have to.
Do you?
I haven't gone to my office in 60 days. Today was the first day in 60 days that I walked into an office. Who's doing the work? Who's calling clients up? Who's sending insurance work out? Who's cutting the payroll? Who's doing that? Who's cleaning my trucks? Who's making sure my equipment's okay? I have to have that. I'm too invested not to.
When I say like you don't have to, like so something like this, you don't have to do this.
I don't have to, but this is fun. This is a fun part of what we do. Mm-hmm. I get to speak to a young brother that's doing his thing, build a nice relationship. You'll know me forever. You're going to hit me in a week and be like, yo, you know so-and-so, can you help me out? I'm going to be like, sure. That's what's going to happen. You're going to be like, yo, this artist is in town. I see he follows you. Can I get him on my pod? Yeah. Let's make the call.
Do you see that a lot now? Like
Of
in your, in like
course, I
looking,
do that.
in, like looking back now, like do you see that a lot in your career?
Absolutely. The network is the net worth is not a lie.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I like see like the early stages of that, right? When people just throw me certain alley-oops based off of certain things,
Dog,
right?
who you know is everything. No one can move alone. You could record this shit right now in your bedroom without her, without him, just you and your iPhone. That shit would be boring as hell. No one's watching it.
Yeah.
You could talk into a mic by yourself, but you have a team. It's obviously proving effective.
I think that's like the part, right? That like proving like getting people that before believing in the vision that you believe in yourself, right? Like you're talking about it like early on, right? Like you had a vision, right? But to get people to come on and buy into that same vision before you can prove that vision, that's I think the toughest part, right? And like
For you?
I think so.
I see that. I understand that.
I think so. Like I'm like super appreciative of like my team, right? Because I understand that like, yo, right now when there's no money in here, right? And you putting in like, yo, like Sa's got a whole other job, right? You putting in an additional 20 hours a week on this, on something that's not your vision, right? Like
true.
for her to believe in like, yo, like I'm like, yo, whatever I see, I see that, right? Whatever I see in the next 5 to 10 years, that's my vision for it.
You got to articulate that to the team. Like articulating that to the team is critical, and having them understand and believe you is part of the leadership piece.
When I think about like when I'm like starting this, right? And I'm like telling my friends about this, and they're like, some of them, I'm sure you've gotten in your career, they're like, are you serious? You're about to do that? You're about to spend how much on the next 3 months on this? Right? It's like, oh, like you don't really see the things that I see.
All good. All good. Let's keep it moving. There's enough people that do.
But that's the tough part though. I don't know about that though.
Bro.
You think so?
Dog.
Like because that's why when I say that it meant a lot that when you hit me, right? Because I don't know if there's that many people that believe in it, and maybe I haven't done a good enough job showing it out publicly.
More people believe in it today than yesterday.
That's probably true. Yeah.
And every day it's going to grow a little bit at a time. And every day someone else is going to tap in. And eventually you're going to be like, all right, I got the content piece down. While I'm working on the content piece, I'm working on the business piece too. It might change for you. Like I know some of the biggest, I've been to damn near every major podcast, mainstream. And I've been a fly on the wall in a lot of those. And I've taken the guests to the podcast. And I've seen how the podcast roll. And for some, like you could be doing this, but someone somewhere could be like, yo, I want to tap that guy to host this. And I have a host job for this guy. Or I have another opportunity for this guy just because he's well-spoken. And that comes back to what you're doing this for, is to storytell and be recognized for it. So other opportunities come. Like when I did my podcast, so much came off of that. But the biggest piece of that came off of it was relationships. That any one of the guests that I ever had on my podcast, I could call today and be like, yo, I'm coming to your city. I need to tap in. Or, yo, you're performing in my town. I want to bring my wife. Cool. Yo, come have dinner at my house while you're in town. All that shit.
I think that's the beauty of like
It's
podcasting.
amazing.
I think that's the beauty
It's
of
a
podcasting
beautiful
and
thing.
relationships. As long as the piece that you talked about earlier, as long as you are a solid individual, right? I always say like I don't need anybody to like give me like a look in the sense of doing me a favor, right? I appreciate it, right? But when you come up in me, I want to make sure that you feel appreciated. I want to make sure that you feel like your time was not wasted. I want to make sure that you feel like, you know what? Like he believes in me just the same way that I believed in him enough to do this, right? When I talk about like any guest that's come up, right? Every single one has always been post-fact, regardless of them being on the pod, right? It wasn't as selfish as like, oh, them just resharing the one pod that they did, right? Anything that I do, right? It's like, yo, like Ihram's doing this, like let me throw him a look. Yo, I'm I'm DJing something. Yo, come do the come.
Absolutely. It's
right?
community building.
It's community building, right? And it's community building in like the most, I would say, authentic way, right? Because I think we, at least like now in the building scene, you ever feel like things were like as you were building felt transactional?
There's a lot of every day. Every day it's transactional. So much transactional shit. Like a tit for tat.
Yeah.
That's the business part of it.
You think so?
I know so.
You don't feel it? Like that's the part that kind of like, cause like maybe it is tit for tat, right? But I don't ever feel that way.
Not this. Not this. This is a conversation. But in the business of, you said day to day, every day, like you don't feel the transactional shit. Yeah, like I'm working with one of the biggest sneaker brands in the world right now. I'm executing a project for a big sneaker company in Cleveland for March Madness. And they sent me a budget. They sent me a request list of all the things that I need to do and my agency needs to handle. And we know people inside the company. It's transactional. Yo, what's your budget? What do you need done? Here you go.
Talk about that. Like we were talking about that a little bit from like the business end, right? Because when we talk about like these, as we navigate our culture forward, right? As we continue to navigate this culture forward, right? We are going to start interacting and rubbing shoulders like you have with some of these established brands, right? Like we talked about the paper plane on your hat, right?
Best blueprint ever.
Right? Like we talk about the paper plane on your hat, right?
Best
we talk about like your logo on the side of the hat, right? Like
100%.
Like that, you know, major corporations.
Yeah.
Right? When you, as somebody who has navigated it, like what would you tell people starting to navigate that? When, let's say, God bless, when an iHeart or a Spotify comes to me, right? Like what would be like your piece of advice towards those people?
Be honest and be authentic. Be your honest self. Don't change for anybody. Learn the business piece. But whoever's coming to you is coming to you based on what you do. They came to you because they like what you do. If you have to adapt and change, and that's part of the business structure, you got to figure out if that works for you, which we do every day. I do that every day. Every day I adapt part of my working equation to work with a particular company or a brand. And there isn't a multi-billion-dollar sneaker brand that I have not worked with. There isn't a record label that I have not worked with. I've worked with every major footwear retailer, every major sneaker brand in America. Almost every major record label has hired me to do projects or execute shit for them. And they're calling me or my agency because of the work we do authentically on the ground and what we bring to the table. The minute you change it and you change up your swag or how you move, might be to your disadvantage if you're losing your authenticity in the process. It's okay to adapt, but it's not okay to be inauthentic.
Because you lose you, right? Like you lose like the actual value.
I've played the corporate slave shit. It's not cool.
You lose the value of like the thing that they're actually coming to you for, right? Because how many marketing agencies are there, right?
A million.
They're coming to you because of what your marketing agency is doing, right? As soon as you lose the ethos of that, you've lost the thing that made you different. You've lost the true value of the product, right? Because now I can just go to XYZ marketing agency down the street that might do it for a little bit cheaper, right? But here's the thing, they can't do it like you. They can't. You know what I'm saying? They can't.
Thank you, sir.
They can't do it like you, right? Like I always say, like, yo, like when a brand comes or a business comes to me and says like, hey, like we have XYZ budget, I'm all like, okay, that's cool, right? This is like our price. If you can't do it, right? They think that, oh, we're just gonna go give it to the other podcast down the street that's cheaper. I'm all like, yeah, but they can't do it like me. Right? They're not going to build it. Like, they're not going to do what I would do for your business. Straight up. And I think like navigating that is, I think, where my generation kind of loses it now from the creative side. Because so many of us are just creatives, right? But you've had to learn, right? You're not just DJ Sharad, the DJ and creative. You're DJ Sharad, the CEO and executive of now multiple businesses.
If Instagram didn't exist, would half the people you talk to be as relevant as they are?
Some?
I said would half.
Oh.
You talked to 32 people before me, right?
I would say, that's a tough one. Half? Half
with
is
at
tough.
least 50%. That means I'm 33. My relevancy doesn't matter based on Instagram. Instagram and social media only helps drive awareness to what I'm already doing.
Yeah.
But if that got deleted today, I'm running multiple multi-million-dollar businesses with or without a social media platform. I'm working with or without that. What I am asking you, and this is not just a question for you, but like to anybody that's doing creative work, in whatever creative space, you dance, you choreograph, you whatever you're doing, you paint, whatever. You talked to 32 guests prior to me, and you're probably going to talk to hundreds more. Can 50%, well, at least 50% of those guests or those people be relevant if all social media shut down tomorrow? Will their businesses and their creative still be able to exist and be profitable?
No.
You got to get that right then. You got to get your business right, with or without social, because we don't own the social media. We just own the content. If you can put the content anywhere, you can put the content nowhere also. Then what? Like, we as a culture have to understand the business side of all the creative space. Our community has to start understanding that. Young people, and not just South Asians, everybody needs to understand that. Like, yo, if TikTok shut down, what are you doing? How are you monetizing?
I think that's like the part where, and I'm glad that me and you have now connected, because that's the part that I think that is like lost in our generation. Not lost, that we're still figuring out, because a lot of us, I don't think, understand the true business behind it, right? Like, we just like to be like everybody, like you're saying, half of my guests, right? Half of the future guests, they're probably, hey, like, I want to be seen, right? And through the process of that, have maybe stumbled upon a business, but they don't truly understand the businesses that are around that business, right? Like, how many musicians do you know, right, that are fire musicians?
Too many.
But they don't have a true business around them. So therefore they have to quit.
Maybe. And for some, that's okay. Like, I don't want anyone to get it twisted. Like, finance is not the only driver of creative. It's amazing to have the synergy of both. It's amazing to be a creative and be able to monetize. Like, that's what hip hop did for me. That's what hip hop taught me a lot, but hip hop taught me that you could be authentic and true to what you do and still be a business at the same time. Like, you don't have to operate like a non-for-profit. That's crazy. Right?
I think that's when, like, because again, most of these guys, like, they're in, again, they make music, but they're in the music business. Like, if you, like, I get the artistry part of it, right? But if you want to be an artist, you could just make music in your room and you never have to put it out.
Absolutely.
But as soon as you put it out, you enter the music business. As soon as, again, I could podcast and I could just talk to my friends and I could say I have a podcast, right? But as soon as I put it out, I'm in the entertainment business.
I saw one of your podcasts, you said that your parents are proud of you. Or like you said, like your mom said that she was proud of you, or you were a good son. Something along those
Somebody
lines.
told me that. My mom didn't tell me that.
Oh, your mom didn't tell you that. So do your mom thinks you're a good son?
I think my mom thinks I'm a good son.
Amazing. You're in the right step. Like, that's amazing. I hope my kids, I hope I could say that about my kids when they're older, that they've done amazing, that they've made me proud. Like, I know that I've made my parents proud. And we took a very non-conventional way to do it. So in the beginning, it was like, oh, what does he do? He DJs. What else does he do? For years, my dad would be like, well, he wanted to go to law school, but yeah, he DJ'd. Like, I only try to take that route, or like sort of went on that path to just to test the waters. I was always going to DJ.
I think I'm still in that phase. I think my parents like love me as a son and are proud of me as like the person that I am. But in terms of like proving this, that's honestly like between me and you, that's like my biggest.
It's not between me and you if you air this shit.
That's my biggest motivator, right? To be able to like, have my like parents be like, look, like he did that. He's not like, because when they introduce me now, I'm still Ihram, the analyst from wherever I work.
Oh, so you're still working full time?
Oh yeah, right. I still work full time.
Good for you.
But
that funds this.
But I want them to
right?
be able.
That funds this.
Yeah. But I want them to be able to look at this and be like, no, my son Ihram is the podcaster, around the media personality, around the whatever, right? I want them to be able to say that with just as much pride as they said, around the analyst that works at XYZ place, right?
Yeah, there is this like weird stigma around people who like like oh, he's a podcaster, like, oh, you podcast, like what else do you really do? Like,
I always say that people still think that this is a podcast. Like, I wouldn't even call myself a podcaster.
right? Like to me, it's like you're creating media. Like
Yeah.
you're a media company. Like
Like I always say that's diminishing. Like me calling myself a podcaster is diminishing what I truly envision this to be.
Yo, I moved into a really nice neighborhood, like an exceptionally nice neighborhood. And like, I'm one of the younger people that moved into this. Everyone, my neighbors are like in their 50s and 60s and like have kids in college and whatever. And I have a pretty nice place where we live. And then there's a gate, there's security to get in my neighborhood. So when I first moved in the neighborhood, like we meet the neighbors and people are like, yo, what do you do? And you know what I tell everybody? What do you think I tell everybody?
Not I'm a DJ.
That's the first thing I say.
Oh yeah.
I'm a DJ. They're like, I know some of them went home and like, yo, this fucking guy DJs? And like, how does he live in our neighborhood?
Yeah.
Like, and pay our taxes?
But it's changed
Like,
the
you
stigma
know how
around
amazing that is?
it. Yeah.
Because, yeah, I DJ. I'm a DJ first and foremost. My DJing and my ability to DJ and my ability to play music is what afforded me the opportunities to do everything else that I've done. I would have never opened a DJ agency if I wasn't a DJ. I would have never opened a marketing agency. We're good. I would have never opened a marketing agency unless I was a DJ. I would have never had the capital to get into real estate ventures if I wasn't a DJ. So anytime I meet what you do, I'm a DJ.
It's to change that stigma around it, right?
Hell yeah, bro.
like, yo,
DJs and presenters, curators, creators, whatever title you want to give right, whatever title you want to own, yo, it's a new day and time. Anything goes. That's what it is.
DJ Sharad. I end every podcast with a segment called Call Your Shot, presented by Jungly, where I ask my guests something that they're going to make happen, not something that they want to make happen, something that they're going to make happen in the next 3, 5, 10 years, right? Something. So, DJ Sharad, call your shot.
State it again.
Something that you're going to make happen next 3 to 5 years.
Yo,
right?
I'm on a different time zone. I'm in a different state of my life.
Yeah.
So for me, my biggest thing that I make happen, and I make happen every day, like we talk business, a lot of business stuff and a lot of all that, but my true thing on what I'm going to make happen is great children. That is what I'm making. That is also why I'm here. So my kids and kids that are like them have these reference points. So for me, everything I touch now has a direct impact on my children. So for me, I'm just making great children, straight up. I have 2 children. Everything I do is to make sure that they have reference points and a standard set by me so they could exceed that.
Do your kids got how cool you are?
I think my son knows. They know.
Huh?
They know I'm cool as shit.
Yeah, like, come on.
They're going to know even more because they're 9 and 7, right? So,
I think as they progress through their life, they're really going to look at their
dog,
and be like,
my kid
damn.
has met rappers. Like,
Yeah.
but
Like,
that's
hard
not
to-
the cool part. You know what the cool part is? Me being at basketball practice with them, me going to gymnastics, me being at dance. That's cool to them. Like all the extra shit, like the stuff we were talking about, like, oh,
Yeah.
whatever access I have, my children have, that's cool. And they love those moments. And I think it's become standard for them to have great interactions with people that I've never even got to meet. But I think the bigger piece is like, I've set up a situation for myself because I DJ to have the best schedule so that I'm home when they wake up. I'm home when they get off the bus. I'm at every single practice I could be at. Today I'm not at practice, by the way. I'm at every single practice. I'm at every single game. It's rare that I miss it unless I'm on the road for an event. I'm not missing it. And I take my gigs based around that. So I think like for me, like what I'm doing now is I'm laser focused on being an incredible father, because I've been damn near a cornerstone in the culture here in New York for so long that I was outside so much that it's actually cool to be inside and focus on what's really important, which is making impact and legacy at the ground level at your house.
Absolutely. Yo, OG, appreciate you doing this. Appreciate you taking the
so
time.
many people calling me that now, bro.
Appreciate you
It's
taking the
crazy.
time. I truly do.
Thank you, bro.
You're
Appreciate it.
absolutely, not just for doing this for me, but what you've done for our culture and the rooms that you've put us in and the rooms you continue to put us in.
We're gonna keep going in those. Watch this. There's shit coming.
I'm excited.
It's crazy.
I'm excited. Yo, appreciate y'all listening. Peace.
All right, peace. Thank you. Let me see. So my reason of a hard stop was I have my parents are coming off a flight that I have to pick them up off. So I want to make sure.
Let's just quickly get a picture.